Rings of Power lost 50%. Now, Samba TV put out its ratings for one episode. I had to double check this. So Samba TV is not an exact measurement. I would say Nielsen's are probably a little closer, but they're not great either. We have no real idea how many people actually watch this show. I got a cough. Sorry.
All right.
We have no idea how many people watch the show, but we have kind of a general idea, I would say at best. So Samba TV put out that the Rings of Power, the first episode was watched by 902,000 people over 5 days. Drinker got that on his video about the Rings of Power in under a day, in under one single day. It took me 2 because I'm not Drinker, but I got past that mark in about 2.5 days. They spread that, they added a day. So comparatively, in Valiant Renegade put it out there on a tweet. In 4 days, the premiere episode of the Rings of Power season 1 got 1.8 million views according to Samba TV. So they've lost 50% of their audience from the premiere of last time, of the last season 2 years ago. I think it's far worse than that because they added the day to the measurement to get 902. So it's more than 50%. It is more than 50%. And I would say it's probably closer to 63%, which is the amount of audience they lost by the time they ended season 1. And this is a surprise to absolutely no one. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
I was going to say any random episode of Attack of the Show got that rating. About 1 million. It's about 1 million.
That's crazy.
Like every day. That was, there'd be bumps here and there, but that's also.
You want to put up that tweet, Xray Girl, by the way.
Small cable show. That was considered good for that show.
Dude. And that was like the lower ratings. And let's not forget, I'm rewatching the X-Files, Chris. So I'm like looking up stats about the episodes. The X-Files were watched regularly by 18 million people.
What?
18 million people. Okay. The ratings back then were astronomical because there wasn't a ton on. They were on at a set time. It was appointment television. The X-Files was a pretty big fucking show. And that was on the fledgling network called Fox, a brand new network that wasn't taken seriously for many years when it started out. When Fox started out, they didn't even broadcast every day. They just broadcasted like 1 day a week. Then it went to 2. I remember those days. A show that cost $1 billion, can't even get a million on its first episode over 5 days. So this thing is bleeding money. It's absolutely bleeding money. So we have U.S. households watch the first episode of The Rings of Power Season 2 on Amazon Prime over its first 5 days. And you go over here, U.S. households watch the premiere, I'm guessing that's a singular episode, of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, during its first 4 days available on Amazon Prime. So they try to stretch this out. And of course, they released 3 episodes at once. The season's almost halfway over. I'm not sure how many people stayed for 2 and 3 because they're a slog. The whole thing is a slog, but they're particularly bad. Like nothing really happens in them. So, big shocker. Will they continue with this series? Yes, absolutely. This will be Star Trek Discovery all over again. They wouldn't want to wound their pride. They'd rather lose a bunch of money. And they can afford it because they're Amazon. So, here we are with the Rings of Power. And it's Chris, you haven't seen it, right?
I watched the first episode.
Oh,
and I fell asleep. I'm going to say something that, I don't know, this is my radical take on this, but I don't care about anyone. I barely remember what happened last season. And I'll say this, when it comes to like lore and canon, because your nitpicks are valid and I hear them and I say, okay, yeah, but I don't know the source material. I haven't read the books, so I don't know. Here's the thing. If you get the characters right, you can get away with the lore and canon not being 100% accurate. If the characters are right, these characters are just terrible. I don't know their motivations. They make stupid mistakes. They're not accountable for their decisions. And they give me reasons why I'm supposed to care. but it doesn't feel real. It's not authentic. It doesn't feel like a real world. And they try to suck you in with, I saw the little teaser for whatever's coming. There's a lot of cool looking shit, but it doesn't matter. Two Towers, you care so much. The spectacle in it is like frosting on the cake. I love Two Towers. That I get chills I'm hearing the music in my head. It's so good because the stakes are so high. You care so much, and they can't even get anywhere near that. Nothing seems to matter.
One of the biggest things comparing like the movies to the show is they do a lot of telling why this person's amazing, great, or whatever, but they don't show it. Because I think of like scenes like the Hobbits when they're fighting against the orcs, and Merry and Pippin sacrifice themselves so that Sam and Frodo can run away. Like, that shows love there.
That shows character. In the introduction to Rohan in Two Towers, you get to know the motivations and the character of Éowyn, Arwen, Wormtongue, and Theoden within minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes. They sweep through, and you know everything about you need to know within a few minutes. That is masterful. To Chris's point, we don't know like the true motivations other than pure incompetence of all these characters over a season and a half. One character we don't even know his fucking name. They're teasing it out for Dan Galf, which is so dumb. So you can sense. See, the thing is, when you're not true to the source material, even if you have no fucking idea what it is, as a human, you can sense it. They're cheating at homework. Okay, this is like the trust fund kid adaptation of a work. Somebody gave a bunch of incompetent morons who don't know shit about shit a bunch of money, and they did the equivalent of like partying in a mansion and just tearing it up and not like really understanding like what it took to keep that mansion, why it's there, and that's what we have. And there's instance, I didn't even get them all, dude. There's instance after instance of them just repurposing lines and scenes from Peter Jackson's movies. When you have this opportunity to do things that Peter Jackson did not, you can lots of opportunities to do things Peter Jackson did not and honor the lore even more. And instead, you just wanted to make it Lord of the Rings in Second Age. That's it. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I mean, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films in the Second Age, just repurposing characters, repurposing storylines, and repurposing scenes, showing origins you don't need to show. Like, that needs to end. Like, we need to bring mystery back to Hollywood. We don't need to know the motivation of every fucking bad guy. We don't need to know that orcs, because they didn't, by the way, have families and live in the Mordor suburbs. With this, it's fucking ridiculous. For one, we don't need incompetent morons explaining things by their betters who are past, by the way.
Yeah, I like your explanation of orcs. They have litters of orcs. And if some die, they feed the dead orcs to the other pups in the litter. And they're just
cannibals?
They don't have families. They just seem evil. They're just evil. You don't need to, it's so dumb. This is why I think the Marvel movies, when they succeed, why are they successful? They get the characters right. They can change this didn't happen exactly like that in the comics, but if they capture the essence of the characters, it works. And that's what Marvel comics at their best. The comics are good because they're character motivated and driven. So there's nothing about this that appeals. Why do I care? I want to know what happens next to these characters. I want to be invested. I'm not invested at all.
I mean, it really is that simple. Like you said, this could have worked. Yeah. Absolutely could have worked. But it didn't. And the reason why it didn't work is because they didn't even try to take the care to make you care about the characters. They're just like, let's copy and paste some shit from Peter Jackson's movie and roll with it. From a studio that doesn't know how to make TV, and the TV that they have made that's good is usually made by another production company. This is an Amazon production through and through, by the way, from people who don't understand Tolkien are for people who do understand Tolkien and don't give a fuck. They just want their name on something and they just want this job and they're willing to say yes to whatever stupid banker is running their organization, or in this case, a former marketing executive named Jennifer Salke, right? Who doesn't have a creative bone in her body. So I mean, it's not a surprise that we saw this coming a mile away. And if you want to just continue to fail, go ahead. But the appetite in the of the audience is they're done with this shit. They're just absolutely done with this shit. That is evident. And when we do have successes, which we do, by the way, it's not filled with this intersectional message-filled garbage.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.